Hi everybody, welcome to our lesson on solving proportions. We have been talking about ratios really this entire chapter. We continue to do that, and there are going to be some different ways to solve proportions. We're going to start with something that you already know how to do. I'll walk you through that, and then I want you to be able to solve the easy ones in two ways so that the more difficult ones you understand the process. So the first thing I wanted to show you is a little picture. So I'm going to start with a ratio of 2 out of the 3 rows compared to 8 of the 12 dots. So what I did was I circled in green 2 out of the 3 rows, and over here I circled 8 out of the 12 dots. You look at it and you can just see that they are equal. But when you write them down, they are definitely not looking the same. You have 2/3 and 8/12. Some of you are looking at this and saying, okay, Mrs. McKinley, those are equivalent fractions. Yes, they are. Equivalent fractions are proportions, actually. Sometimes the proportions that we are going to work with aren't quite as obvious. So that brings me to, how do you tell if two quantities are proportional? What this means is, when you think of a proportion, you think of a drawing that's small, and then when you want to blow it up, you want to, if you remember when we were doing that on the PowerPoint, you drag that bottom corner and it goes big and small, and you don't want to stretch it. Remember when we had that skinny yak or that tall yak? It looks kind of funny. We want it to stay in proportion. So I'm going to show you how to Ninja Star cross multiply to compare. And this is really called a cross product, but I like the Ninja Star kind of thing. You know how we used to reduce it, which you still could do here, but I want to show you how to really quickly tell if two numbers or two ratios are equivalent, or proportional, I should say. So 8 times 3 is 24. That's the first product. 2 times 12 right here is 24. So no matter what, we can see that the two cross products are equal. Therefore, these are proportional. So in this one, what we are going to do is the Ninja Star cross multiplying to find the cross products. So if you want to pause me or do the first one with me, it's completely up to you. So I am going to first do 12 times 5, which, as many of you know, is 60. And the question mark on here is are they proportional? 3 times 18 will be 54. Are they equal? No, they're not. So it is not a proportion. Okay, so let's go on to number 2. Pause me, do the cross products, and tell me whether or not they are proportions. Okay, if you've paused me, I'm going to do 20 times 10, which is 200. 8 times 25, oh, it is 200. So yes, they are definitely proportions. Now, the thing that might trip you up is over here. You saw that those could be multiplied by 4/4 to get 8/12. But look at how much trickier it is here. There is no number, well, there is one, it's a decimal number, that you could multiply 8 times to get 20, okay? And 10 times to get 25. So that multiplying by a fancy form of 1 works sometimes with proportions, but it does not work all the times. These you can solve mentally, so let's solve them for x and then make sure that they cross multiply. So the fancy form of 1 here should be 5/5, because 4 times 5 is 20. 12 times 5 is 60. And if you would like, you can do that cross product and it should work out. But the pause there, if you multiply the 20 times 12, you do get 240. And 4 times 60, you also get 240. This is a great way on a quiz or a test to double check that you have in fact made a proportion. 5 times something is going to give me 20, so if you do 3 miles in 5 hours, you'll do 20 miles in how many hours? We want to keep it proportional, so again, 5 times what is 20? 4 in the fancy form of 1 would make that a 4 over 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. So again, 5 times 12, it keeps coming up today, is 60. 20 times 3 is 60. We have ourselves a proportion. All right, we are going to do a related equation. Before we do that, I want to show you with one up here how to do that. So before, when we started out, instead of knowing that this was a 12, it really was an x. So I'm going to back us up and do 5 over 3 equals 20 over x. This is the second way you can solve your proportion. And it's a really easy one to check. So what we're going to do before we do anything is just simply do the cross product. So 20 times 3 is 60, and that's going to equal whatever 5 times x is. Okay, so in order to figure out what x is, we need to divide this side by 5 and this side by 5. Remember, when we're working with equations, you have to be fair, just like you are with your children. Everything has to be equal. So the 5's basically become a 1, and 60 divided by 5, sorry about that. So we were at the point where we needed to divide 60 by 5. So what we are going to get, we have x on this side, and what is going to equal x? Whatever 60 divided by 5 is, if you do the math, it is 12. So x equals 12. A lot of you kind of think, well, that's a lot of rigmarole to go through to figure this out when I can just multiply it by the top and the bottom by the fancy form of 1 and I'm good. Well, let me show you why we want to do it this way too, because it's not always so obvious. 1.4 or 2.1 is to x as 1.4 is to 3, or 2.1 over 1.4 equals x over 3. Now this is a whole different ballgame, because what did we multiply 1.4 times to get 3? That's a little trickier. Let me show you what you do to solve it using a related equation. This comes in very handy throughout all of your math career. So we are going to do the cross product, and this simply ends up 1.4 times x. 1.4x equals whatever 2.1 times 3 is. Very important that you still remember how to multiply decimals. So if you can look here, it will be 6.3. Most people can do that mentally. So now we need to divide this side by 1.4 and this side by 1.4. So a lot of you are thinking, oh great, now division, and division with decimals. Again, brush off those cobwebs. I'm going to work straight down here so you can see my work area. You can see this is a kill a tree assignment. So now we're going to take 6.3 and we are going to divide it by 1.4. And we are going to solve it from there. I'm going to get you started, and then I want you to try to finish the long division. So we're going to swoop this one over. We're going to swoop this one over, and it rests right there. We can add a couple cows come home zeros just in case, and we can go from here. Pause me if you feel like you can solve the rest of this equation. Okay, so I did all of the math. You can check me out there, and I got x equals 4.5. All right. So we are basically solving number analogies, those of you who prefer words to numbers. So we are saying 30 is to 50 as some number is to 60. That's what a proportion really is. So again, you can't just multiply this by 2. That's not what equals 50. So let's do the cross multiplying. Pause me if you want to try it on your own, but I'll walk you through it a little bit, at least set up the equation. So I have 50 times y is equal to 180. Okay, so now I'm going to divide both sides by 50. And I'm going to change colors so you can see a little bit better what to do here. I have y equals whatever 180 divided by 50 is. So I'll do that right here. 180 divided by 50. So I know I'm going to have to add a cows come home 0 because 3 times 5 is times 50 is 150, and I'll get to 300. And I can see, there's my decimal point, I need to put a 6 right here to get 6 times 50 is 300, which will eventually zero out. So my y is equal to 3.6. Notice all of the steps you have to go through to get this. I'm going to let you try number 3. I'm going to show all of my steps below. Try it and check it out. Zooming in on what I did here is 1.5 times 1 is 1.5, and this becomes 6/10 x or 0.6x. I divided both sides by 0.6 to get x all by itself, and then I needed to do the division. Remember that there cannot be a decimal point outside, so we needed to swoop that over once. We swooped that over once and then park it right up here. 6 into 15 point, I put 2 zeros, we only needed 1, and I got 2.5. So x equals 2.5. I'm going to try something a little different today, and if you could do the following problem and bring it up to me in your notes to check out whether or not you have gotten it right. This is your exit ticket for today. So I found the exit ticket. This is what you need to bring to me either in your notes or on a side piece of paper with your work so that I can see how you did your multiplication, and please tell me what you think m equals. As soon as you do that, you may start your assignment. This is a 1.1. I noticed that was a little bit, wasn't written quite as dark as I would like it to. Good luck on your assignment today. Please go slowly, do careful math, or your proportions will not work out at all. Thanks everyone. Have a great lesson.